Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Young, thank you for being here. I know it's been a long day. I'll try to be quick and concise on what I'm concerned about. And the first thing I'm concerned about is that this budget is 5 weeks late. Now, granted, this is not the only president who has been late with his budget, but I hope that the administration understands that that puts us behind. We want to be on time. Now, granted, we may not be on time, but when we start behind, then we're already behind. That's why I've submitted, or why I have legislation called the Submit Act. Send us budget materials, international taxes in time. And what it does is it says that if the president, Republican, Democrat, whoever, doesn't send Congress a budget in time, that they're not going to be invited to give a State of the Union address. And again, it doesn't apply to a Democratic president or only. It applies to any president. So I just want you to take the message back that we really need this information on time. And I hope you understand what I'm coming from that. I'm very concerned about the debt, as everyone is. Right now, we are spending in this country $202,000 every second. The speed of light is only 186 miles per second. We're spending money faster than the speed of light. I know you have concerns about the deficit too. Tell me what your concerns are about the deficit.
Mr. Carter, since you're at the end, hopefully the chairman will let us go back and forth a little, but I have to say, you give me a budget by October 1st, I'll give you a budget that's on time. With all due respect, it puts us very behind on production for budgets when they are 6 months late. I'm sitting here trying to get a readout of a bill that was released this morning that finishes the budget from last year while also presenting the budget for next year. So I think, speaking of process, Mr. Chairman, we all need to work together to find some way to get this back on track. So I appreciate your bill, but it's part of a story.
You can't start your budget for next year until we finish ours for this year?
We actually made a decision not to wait any further.
No, that was your decision though, but you can submit the budget for next fiscal year.
If you talk to the appropriators, it is very frustrating, I've been on that side, to get a budget that's frankly out of date. So they're going to get a bunch of tables that are compared to wrong numbers. So it does put us behind, Mr. Carter. Also on debt and deficits, while you may disagree with our tax policies going after higher income earners, it does allow us to pay for our new investments in this budget and have an over $3 trillion deficit reduction path.
And obviously, you know, we disagree with that. You know, that we would refute that point. Nevertheless, let's talk about rulemaking. When you make rules, I believe right now there are 170 regulations currently pending before your office. Whenever you make these rules and approve these rules, do you ever take into consideration the cost of these rules?
Oh, Mr. Carter, that's the whole reason OMB gets any rule. For OMB to get a rule from an agency, it's the agency's rule. So when EPA has a rule, it's their rule. The reason OMB is involved in our OIR office is because we have estimated that it has a certain economic impact. So we think it's important. Administration since Bill Clinton have set the rules for what comes into OMB, and it's because we think economically significant rules should come and have a larger review
Well, let me ask you about two in particular. I have the honor and privilege of representing the entire coast of Georgia. And up and down the Atlantic seaboard, of course, we have right whales. And there's a rule right now being proposed by NOAA to require boats between 35 and 65 feet to adhere to a 10 mile per hour speed limit, which is going to just crush recreational fishing. It's going to have a negative impact on our ports. We have two major seaports in my district. That's one of the examples, and it's going to impact, in my district alone, 27,000 direct jobs. Nationwide, that number's up to 340,000. It'll have an economic impact of $84 billion. Yet this administration, and NOAA specifically, laughingly says it's only going to have $46 million impact. That's one example of the kind of rule that I'm talking about that has a negative impact on our economy. Another one, I chair the subcommittee on environment and energy and commerce. The NAAQS rule that's being proposed here for particulate matter, that is going to have a devastating impact on manufacturers here in America. What does the administration do with these types of rules? Do y'all look at these types of rules and the impact that they'll have economically?
Absolutely. That is entirely why OMB is involved. Anything that's economically significant, which that rule was, has to come to make sure that nothing's rushed through, that we take public comment, and we made it easier in the Biden administration to walk in off the street and provide comment, because we want to hear, and rules do change based on those comments. So I look forward to,
Rules, so there are times when you would just, you telling me that, well, I hope that this right well rule and I hope that this ambient air quality rule will be two of those times that they change.
I can't
Gentlemen,
as a
comment
result.
on specific rules, but absolutely, rules, after listening to
I'll
public
give you the
comment
final
have-
word. I'll give you the
yeah,
final word.
have changed, and that's the point of public comment. We don't know everything until these rules go out and people have a chance to look at them, and we take in information from the public. Other agencies might have some equities that they don't know. So, you know, OMBOR's role is to make sure we hear from all stakeholders and make sure we're striking the right
Well, I've
balance.
given you two examples. I hope you'll look at those for us.
think-
And I yield back.
I
Thank
think
you.
the gentleman